It's Tim again, back for the third video today. Did you see me? I hit my elbow on, on this table here. So that's why I like sitting back outside. There's nothing to bang yourself on. But I'm here at the house for the third video today, sitting at our dining table. We spent time here with friends and meals. You can't see the table, but Carolyn's has a nice table. Carolyn's the architect of deals and getting things and furnishing our house and everything. I'm just a furnishing part of the house. I get to live here, but we have a nice table here. We can put a couple of leaves in it, and you can seat a lot of people around it. And we've had a lot of fellowships here, and really great times of joy with our family and our friends. So it's such a joy for me to come back and fellowship with you again today at the table. And I hope you're enjoying the food table that I'm setting before you. And I always want to feed you the right thing, feed you the right foods to make you grow and make you appreciate the life that you can have and will have. And anyhow, I was getting back to our little fishing story, and we enjoying it so much. Like I said, Thaxton was on the pallet, and Carol and I would lay down there on the pallet and look at the sky. The sky would be beautiful, and we didn't realize how long we'd be just laying there talking and enjoying each other, our love for each other and our baby and Thaxton. That all of a sudden the sky had turned not to the blue but to a dark blue, and then there were stars up there, and we were privy to see the universe. It was almost like we were the only people there. It was just like the whole world was ours, and the sky and the beautiful stars, and it was just extra special that night in there. And of course, I know that you've heard songs about the Texas sky, but folks, we have some beautiful skies here. I'm sure other states have that as well, but it's nothing like just laying in a hammock, or we had a hammock here at home at the house, and even our god granddaughters and godchildren would spend time with Carolyn in the hammock, just laying there and just looking at the sky and the marvels of God, and talking about the moon. God made the moon, God made the stars, and we just lay there and just see that, and then all of a sudden we saw a shooting star would come over, and Carol and I would say, hey, that was just for us. God did that just for us. And you know what? He did do that just for us. Even though he shot it over through the whole sky, and probably people elsewhere saw it. But we took that in, that God did that for us. And that's what God has done for you. And he has said all these things in life for you. He says, I set these things in life. I give you everything that pertains to life and godliness. So to knowing me. I set everything in life to benefit you. You're his children. Whether you realize it or not, you're his child. Well, let me say it this way. Those that come to know him as their Lord and Savior are his children. The human race is God's handiwork, is God's creation. But God is wanting his children to come back home. And like I said, it was laying there and looking at the stars, and we had cooked fish that day, and we give him Thaxton a little bit of fish, and I think that's why he loves fish so much now. And my mama said that's why I'm so smart, because I ate so much fish. I'm smart because of God, and maybe eating fish too. So, but anyhow, you'll have to forgive my little weird things, sense of humor about things, but that's me, okay? So we had enjoyed that, and we thought, oh man, we got to go back to work, got to go back to the house. Why couldn't we just stay here, And I was beginning to realize more that we are going to just stay here in God's presence, and that he's got all of these benefits of life for us, And so I was beginning to develop my vision of love, not only increasing my vision, or developing more of my vision of love, not only for God and his handiwork, but for my family and my love that I had for them, and then I would think about my friends that were struggling through some things. Some of those that were having unhappy marriages and unhappy life, and and we tried to reach out to them the best we could and try to live that life before them. I think that's what God told me, a couple of nights after Carolyn had already gone to heaven and on her assignment there and taking care of our home there. When I say take care of our home, God had already put our mansion there for us. I would think it's probably furnished just the way Carolyn would want it to be, and so Carolyn's there, taking care of those things, taking care of the people. When I say taking care, God is taking care of them, but she's there with them and enjoy and their company. And God, and I think that's what, getting back to the couples, I think that's why I think God spoke to me that night, said you and Carolyn are the example couple. A lot of times people don't want to be example of things because they think it's too much responsibility. But I enjoy hearing that and knowing that Carol and I are the example couples before you. Now, when I say that, is that I know that we're imperfect people in a sense as far as the flesh is concerned. But through our love story in our life has become example and will continue to be an example marriage or example couple, being a power couple in life. And I'll tell you how we grew more and more in that as we go along with our story. And it was all influenced and it was all directed by the Lord, what the Lord had put into us and through our lives and through the things we have. All the beautiful little stories I have, all the cute little things I have. I don't have any dramatic drama, bad stories to tell you because I didn't have those. Could I have had them? Yes. They're there, they're lurking outside of us. But like I said, I always worked on protecting those situations, protecting our environment. And so I protected our family and our love the best way that I knew how, and God was teaching me all this along. And then later on, I learned to have dominion in this life. And we'll talk about that too, how you have dominion of your life. The circumstances around you, your environment, everything around you, you have dominion over that. Now you're saying, Tim, do you always win over that? I would say the biggest majority of the time I do win over that. But I have to realize that we have an enemy, that you and I have an enemy in this life. I had a couple that I know that I've grown to really love them real strongly, and we went to church with them for a while. And the other day, the man had hurt his back, and then the next day the wife had a real problem with her stomach and was vomiting and things like that, and both of them had to go to the ER. And anyhow, I had texted them and told them that I saw where they expressed that, and I called them or texted them rather and told them that I was praying for them and everything, and that I would continue to pray for them and for them to get well and strong. And then when I no longer had finished that text, the husband had contacted back this, thank you for praying for her, love you, brother. And then I texted him back and I said, the enemy has really been after you guys the last few days. And I said, I continue to pray the hedge of protection around you, and I said that the enemy has tried, didn't elaborate so much, but I'm saying this now, that the enemy was trying to get into their lives. And he was affecting them physically. Because remember, the enemy, the devil, Satan, Lucifer, whatever name you want to give him, the enemy of a life, he is a fleshly enemy, so he always attacks your flesh. See, if you know God and your spirit man is inside of you is perfect, he can't get to your spirit man, so he always tries to get to your flesh. And then your flesh is then your soul or your feelings and your attitudes, then that tries to dictate what the flesh is doing, but the flesh yields to that because the mind has said that, and that's the way that the thought life happens. Man, that was confusing words. I said, but that's the way when you think about it, as a man thinketh, so is he, and then that falls in. But I told him that I was praying for him. I was praying the hedge of protection around them, and that they were going to come through this, and that they were going to overcome this. And I gave them a couple of scriptures, the Jeremiah 29:11 and 1 Corinthians 2:11, I believe it was. I can't look on my phone just to say what I gave them, but it talks about God's plan is for good and not evil. So I'm saying that you can have an overcoming life where you can overcome your surroundings and your environment. And that's why I said that you vote the right way. That you vote for the right person in leadership for you, that you can be happy and enjoy the freedoms that we have. Again, people say, well, what if they don't get elected? What's going to happen then? You still have done the right thing. And then by you doing the right things, the good thing is going to come to you, even in a hostile environment. When our economies have been affected about, it seems like, I guess, every 8 years or so, something like that, 8 or 10 years, that somewhere down it has a dip. Remember in the early 80s when all the savings and loans were having problems, 82 or something like that? No, it was in the 80s. It was 82, it was about 85 or 86 or 87 in the 80s. And there was a problem where the savings and loans were having problems. You remember how inflation was up and everything like that. And we were able to live through that with the overcoming attitude in life, even through that. I remember when all those savings and loans we went out of business. We at that time had a secondary equipment business where we bought all telco products and things like that. And then during that time is also too when I became an auctioneer. And I remember all those, I say all of them, a big majority of them in the Dallas area was going through those problems, and they were going out of business. We were able to buy all their equipment, secondary equipment, and sell the secondary equipment on the market, on the telecom type market. And I didn't say that to brag about the situation or talk about the misfortune of that time, but what I'm saying is when the economical things happen and when you have where the economy is dropping, is that you can still overcome and you can still prosper and you can still live the high life and you can still have those things, because if you understand where you're at, the environment that you're in, then you can overcome that by doing the principles of God in this life. I'd had people at that time, and would ask me, we'd come to this area 1985, I believe it was, because we've been in business now 36 years, but we came in, and I would tell you that story too, how all that came about. But when we came in during that time, people would ask me, said, Tim, what is your biggest competition? Because they knew there were AT&T, some of the bigger Bell companies, the phone companies and things like that. And I would tell him, is so-and-so your biggest competition? I said, no. The biggest competition is, I said, it's myself. And I said, so I'm not going to compete with myself. In other words, the things that would happen to you, the problems you go through, you're competing with those problems. I had to compete with myself in the sense where I would think about how things should go and would go and speak out the path that those things would happen. So I would tell them the biggest competition I have is myself. So if I kept myself in order, if I kept myself regenerated, if I kept myself motivated, if I kept myself in my love walk, Would I say that I hated those situations that happened? I didn't like those, but I walked in the love of those situations, and that gave me strength and generated me up. Not that I had more ability than anyone else, but I knew my covenant that I had, and at that time of life, I really knew about my covenant. So I'm saying that you can have kind of overcoming ability in your life and be able to live the high life. Don't worry about the finances part. Do what you know to do. Do it to your best ability, and know that God is going to promote you within that. Some of you say, well, man, where I work is terrible. There's people there is always coming against me. There's people always talking about me, and blah, 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 yada, yada. They're all, you're dealing with all this. Change your mind about how you think about that. Say, I'm going to overcome. I'm going to do the very best job I can. Tim, but they're talking about layoffs. Regardless, I'm going to do the very best job that I can do. If that happens in my business and I get laid off, it doesn't surprise God. That doesn't throw the angels in the tither. It doesn't throw them, say, angels didn't run to God and said, oh, so-and-so lost their job. What are we going to do, God? No. God has a plan for you to rise above that. So look at that as a good thing. Don't look at it as a bad thing. Look at it as a bad thing. All right? So this now has happened. I'm going to continue to walk in love. I'm not going to be belligerent to the person that laid me off or the person that fired me or whatever. I'm going to walk in love. The Bible says you can be angry and sin not. You can be angry at the situation, but you don't want to go to bed angry. You don't want to live your life angry. You don't want to live your life of unforgiveness, resentfulness. You don't want to live that. You want to live your life of love. Even if you're treated bad, even if you're fired, even if you're laid off or whatever, the downsides or whatever, look at it as an opportunity for God to increase you and give you something better, not take you down. The enemy wants to have that in your mind to take you down. He wants to take you down. So if you feel like he's and saying that I don't know what I'm going to do. We can't pay our bills. I don't know. This didn't surprise God. This is an opportunity for you to succeed. And I'll tell you a story about me. Okay, I'll tell you a story about what happened to me. But God is always there for you, especially if you know God. God has made His promises and everything available to anybody. Those that don't know God don't know the promises, or that can't walk in those promises because they don't know them. That's the biggest thing about it. And like I said, even people that are successful, they fear success because they think that it's not going to last. So I don't know why I'm saying this, but there's someone I'm talking to about their employment and things like that. You continue to walk in love. You continue to do your very, very, very best. You don't talk about those people. You don't talk about the situations. Your talk is, well, this is going to be a good thing for me. I'm going to overcome this. I'm going to rise above this. I'm going to be better positioned than I am before. This is an opportunity for me to make a career change. This is an opportunity for me to start my own business. These are opportunities. This is an opportunity for me. So what I'm saying is that you don't curse yourself by saying, woe is me. I knew this was going to happen. I just knew it was going to happen. That's kind of like I hear people say all the time. Well, it's coming to the winter time, to the cold days. This time of year, every year I catch the flu. I'm going to get the flu. I'm going to have the flu. And you know what? When that time comes around, what do? They catch the flu. They get sick because they've already talked themselves into it. They've heard themselves say that, and now they have agreed with that. See, be careful about what you agree with when you words. And that's why that if you can't speak, I'm going to say positively, but you can't speak faithfully about the situation, then you don't say anything at all. Now, it may be rattled over in your mind, but you don't allow it to come out of your mind, because then you begin to hear yourself, and then you come in agreement with it, and it happens to you. So if you go through something like that, through the economical times I was telling you about, we always progress through it. Maybe not as the level as we should have, of knowing certain things, but we never went down. We always was level. Now, was there times we say, well, man, I just don't know what's going to happen? Yeah, but we was very quick to change that, speak death to those words, and say, yes, I know what's going to happen. I'm going to succeed. I'm going to overcome. And they would say, Tim, but you're not doing it. Oh, yes, I am. Who told you I wouldn't do it? Who told you that? Because I'm not telling you that, and you're not going to tell yourself that. You'll be able to create the environment that you want to live in, the love environment, your surroundings. That's why on this piece of property that I have here, there's such peace. There's such peace here, because that's what we expected to happen. That's what we prayed for years. This is a peaceful place. This is a place of harmony. This is a place of agreement. This is a place of healing. This is a place of restoration. This is a place of deliverance. This is a place of salvation. No evil comes nigh me. No weapon formed against me shall prosper. For the angels of the Lord camps around about me and delivers me from harm and evil. You got to get that down inside of you too. That no evil formed or not formed yet, will prosper against you. Because you're not going to allow it. You're the overcomer in this situation. So, like I said, through the period of times, through the 80s and the 90s and all that, there were financial slumps. Were we affected by that? At times we were, but we always never went down. We always rose up, and we know it's the Lord. So I'm saying you expect to have favor. I expect to have favor everybody that I talk to today. The Bible says the steps of a righteous person is ordered of the Lord. And he has always kept us one step ahead of calamity and danger, always in our life. So anyhow, getting back to our fishing trip, we thought, oh no, we got to go back home and go to work. But then we got in the car, we backed our little truck up there, and then put it on our put our little cab over camper on that. Went back and hooked our boat up, and back to home we went, just singing and having a good time. Were we thinking about going back to work? No, we knew we needed to do that, and was what we was going to have to do. But we were thankful that we had a job. We were thankful that we had an income. We were thankful that we had a house. We were thankful that we had, excuse me, a healthy child, and that we were healthy and we had a healthy relationship. We always thought about the things being healthy. So we went back with that attitude. And so, would I had rather be fishing that day? Well, of course I would have. But I was going back to work, and I was thankful for the things that we have. And so that's why I said you develop your vision of love. You love your life. You may not love where you're at positionally, but love where you're going in the position of life, where you're going to scale up and live the high life, that you're going to live the high life, not the low life. Because when you live the low life, that's when all the pressure's over. That's when the enemy puts his foot on your neck. When you live above those situations, then you're not affected as much as if you live down in here in this area. So here we are going back to work. We got back not just to work, back to home. Got back to the house, unloaded everything, and there was a tired feeling, but you know how it is. I hope you know how it is. How you feel like that you've been out in the sun, and we love the sun. We tan real easy and stuff like that, but we love being out in the sun, and it's something about that you've been out there on the boat or whatever, and you've had that wind blowing on you, and you have the sun smell on your skin, and how you just, it makes you tired, right? But you have some of the most peaceful and restful sleep after having an adventure like that. So that's what we experienced when we got home, and, it's like, got to go again, and we will, and we did a lot of times, and we'll talk about those stories as well, and anyhow, we enjoyed our little camper, and we pulled it off of the truck and everything, and so the next day I went back to work, and we were enjoying being employed and everything, and then the Lord started dealing with my heart about some changes that we need to make. Actually, was whether we would move from the house that we're in. It's not that we didn't enjoy the house where we was at. We did. I mean, we had our own little garden in the back. I think most of the time the grass overtook it, but we had a garden in the back, and enjoyed being outside, enjoyed our neighbors. Across the street, we had an older couple that lived over there. Then the last name was Wolf, and they raised rabbits and all kinds of stuff. So, we were in this little addition, but we was out in the country too. We didn't have a lot of property like we do now, and like some other property that we have, and like our lake property and our ranches and stuff like that. So, we enjoyed that. Our neighbors, we had a couple of neighbors moved out, and the house next door to it was a lot bigger and a little bit more expensive and stuff like that. And we contemplated that, and God was starting to deal with our heart about that, that we would move from that area. And I'll talk about that in the next video, the next session we have. And so God was dealing with my heart about it. Not that I didn't enjoy where I was working and enjoy the people where I was working. I began to move on a project. It was called where I had worked at Southern Pacific Railroad. I wasn't an engineer or working the yard. I was what back in those days they called an IBM clerk, and I didn't have to be too real smart on computers because they were totally different than they are now. We had this big machine. It's by IBM, and the like programs you put in now, you load programs, download programs like it. Well, back in those days, the programs was on a metal round looking, it was like a can with no ends on it, but it had holes in it, and then you had an index card, not an index card, sorry, like an index card that had perforated holes in it, and you would put that over and put it around the can looking thing, and that was the program you had, and then you put it in the machine, and then it knew to skip by those holes to where you did and you enter things. So being an IBM clerk, and everything, and I had an opportunity to work as a train order clerk, and that was pretty spooky times. I was actually at a place called Echo, Texas, and it was just a little building on the side of the tracks way out in the country. And at that one time, they had an old hotel there where the train crews would come to that part, and they'd get off the train, the next cruise would take it, but they'd stay overnight there. Pretty spooky place, and maybe I can tell you more stories about that. But yeah, so here, well, I'll go ahead and tell you about this. So it was really, really spooky, and it was I was working at night a lot of times there. I didn't like to work at nights, even though that I did. And when I said didn't like, I appreciated the job and everything I had, but I wanted to be home at night with Carolyn and Thaxton. And so this place was, you almost hear people talking, and there's, it's like the word says that whatever's being spoken is still in the atmosphere, and that His word, God's word, will not return void. It will accomplish the purpose it's sent for. You can almost hear people talking in this old building, but there's nobody there. So at night I kept the door locked, because we didn't know anybody might walk in there or something, and I was out there, and it was like I was in a fishbowl because I had the light out in that whole area. Then the track ran up down the in front of the little station there, and they would come over the radio, and they'll say, train 244, stop at Echo for pick up train orders, and I type all that out on a big old clicker graphic thing that had special like onion skin paper where you tear that off and then you hang it out, and when they come by they'd pick up the train order. They knew where to stop, where they wouldn't have a head-on with trains, and they knew they had to get into the side track where the other trains come back. So I began to work those type of jobs, and that was good. It was fun. It wasn't real hard, and just had to stay awake at night. That was one of the things, and we'd get train orders all through the night for the trains being dispatched along that track. So I began to think about that, and then there was an opportunity that was fixing to come up in Lufkin, Texas, still for the Southern Pacific, and I could go. So that was some things that we were thinking about, and begin to talk about it and everything. So, but anyhow, I want to continue to tell you, you need to have continue to develop your vision, your vision of love, and understand that I wrote a couple things down, reading right quick to you. That's a state of being able to see, and when you develop that vision, and the ability to think about or plan the future with imagination or wisdom. And so that's what I was doing. I was kind of imagining where did I want to go, and getting the wisdom, and the love will cause you to focus on others. Selfishness causes you to focus on yourselves. So we don't want to really focus on ourselves, even though ourselves involved. So continue to do your love walk. Continue to walk in that. Continue to develop your vision of love. Like I said, it gives you the ability to see. It gives you the ability to plan, and using your imagination for your future and things. And we'll talk about imaginations later on. We're not talking about vain thoughts, imagination. We're talking about the imagination that exalts you to the standards and places that you need to go. So thank you guys for letting me come and sit at hopefully at your table as I'm sitting at mine, and talk to you this morning. And I'll be back soon, and hope you enjoyed our story, and we'll continue to talk on about it. So again, I want to say today, ending this third video, like Carolyn always says, we are eternal. Going to get that down inside of you. We are eternal. We are eternal. And I'll talk to you soon. Have a great day. Walk in love. Love you guys so much. Bye for now.